Okay, so this is step 7 of the sculpting for my little mini rattle head. Today, the goal is I'm going to go through and adjust a lot of my parts because as you see, she fell. Her head got squashed a little bit. So I am actually going to come through and just do a lot of finishing, carving and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that I still want to modify because, well, I don't love her quite as much as I love my horse. So I am going to go through and I'm going to show you how you can touch things up a little bit and make it look even nicer. Okay. So, as you've watched this whole process, she has changed quite a bit. So she may look fine like this, but I don't like how she looks from the side. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to carve even more away from her face, which is fine because that's what I want to do. I'm going to make her chin just a little more pointy. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to soften her jawbone a little bit. Okay. So I'm only going to work on one side at a time. And then I'm going to go through and I am going to do the second side of the face when I shut off the computer or my recording. Okay, so I'm just going to come through here. This is the great thing about the tools. You can sit there and just modify it a whole bunch more. You already see the difference in her face. She's looking considerably more feminine because I've taken away her harsh jawline because, well, I don't want her to look, overly masculine because she's a girl. So I'm going to soften her jaw some. I'm probably going to go through and modify my neck some too because it actually is pretty darn thick. So I can come through and we're going to do this part right here. And come through here. So I'm removing little bits. I'm not going in and taking insane amounts, but I want to take enough to where it's going to make a difference. Okay. So I'm going through and carving that up. So her neck is already a little more refined. Her cheekbones are still fairly pronounced, which are totally fine. I may take a little bit off of that as well too. Okay, so that's enough of that on the face. Okay, so I've got that started. Okay, she's got a little more of a pronounced cheekbone. I am going to come through, probably adjust her lips some too. I would take a flat tool and squash them down just a little bit more. Trying to think, do most people have a big lower lip or a big upper lip? Well, that's kind of a, I don't know. So, just come through that like that, squash it up just a tiny bit. Okay, changing it up ever so slightly. Smush that down just a little bit. Change the overall shape just a tiny bit. Come through and redefine it just a tiny bit. I think I still want to take a little bit off of here. Just a tiny bit. Okay. All right, I like that. Her in between the nose, I don't know what that's called, the bridge of the nose, that's what it's called. I'm going to take a little bit off of here, just a tiny bit. Just taking tiny bits. She has wide set eyes, which is totally fine. Remember, if you've got long nails, oh goodness gracious, it makes it so much harder to not indent with your fingernails. I find it to be very, very, very challenging to not do that. I constantly am hitting bits and pieces of the project with my, my relatively short nails. But, you may not have that issue. I definitely do. We give just a little tiny bit of a there, like that. I'm going to paint on the eyebrows. Pretty sure I'm going to paint the eyebrows on when that time comes. The eyes are okay for now. See, relatively good. I can go through and finish them up just a tiny bit, okay? But what I really want to focus on is getting our ear defined, okay? I would suggest definitely looking what an ear, the inner ear of an ear, if you're doing an ear, what it looks like, because, well, unfortunately, some of you, you don't know what it looks like. You've never actually looked at someone's ear, which is really funny, but you haven't. So you're just going to come through, you're going to dig out little bits for the ear. And it doesn't need to be overly defined. My little head is probably way more defined than yours, which is no big deal, but there's that. Okay. And I'm probably going to come through, bring just a little bit of it down. I think I want to come through here. So I want her to have like a detached earlobe. There are attached earlobes and then detached. So she's going to have a little more of a hanging down earlobe. There we go. See, now I've got my ear. See that right there? Okay. You can smooth that up. I've got, I could even give her earrings if I wanted. I don't know if I'm going to. That might be doing a lot, but okay. So we've got that right there. Come through, and I'm going to go like this a little bit, just to smooth that up, just a smidge. Okay. I'm going to smooth this up just a tiny bit here too. This is my clay right now is probably almost firm leather hard. I definitely can't squash it and maneuver, like I couldn't squash the head and change the overall shape. I would have to add bits and pieces on. If I did that too much, it probably would just break. So, take your time and come through, and I'm going to just accentuate things a little bit more. I'm going through and I'm adding these things like this. So this is like hairs. Okay. And I will take a brush or something, and I will end up brushing those out, like a paintbrush, not a hairbrush, because, well, that would not work. Okay. Remember, I'm only doing half, so I'm going to stop doing that over there. I'm only going to work on one half at a time, so we end up not making this video too terribly long. Okay. And I've got these things right here, which is meant to be like hairs. This one right here. Okay. Should you brush off your tools as you are working with them? Because, well, if you keep gumming things up and you keep adding additional and more additional stuff on, it just doesn't look all that great after a while. Brush that. Okay. So we've got that started. Smush that down just a little bit. Knock that off. Okay, now, so that's looking okay. I think I'm going to bring this up further. Okay, that's looking okay. So there's that. And then I need to come through, and these are going to almost be like little roses. So I'm going to just knock these around a little bit. Once this dries up a little bit more, it will be easier to knock off the crumbles. It should be just a smidge drier, but I'm going to work on it right now because I want it, because I can knock those crumbles off later. Okay, so you see what I'm doing here. I'm going through, I'm defining these a little bit more. I'm going to flip it to the back because you can't see these ones on camera. So I'm going to accentuate them some, but I am getting it all the way around. Okay. Okay, so you can see they're all the way, and once they're painted kind of a reddish color, they're going to look more like flowers. Okay, and as she dries, I'm going to be able to pluck this stuff out even more. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to work on this until I have to go to my next class, and then I'm going to pop this back on and I'm going to show you my progress, and I'm going to do this side of her face too, and I'm going to just make her look more like what I want her to look like, because, well, I wasn't really thrilled with how she looked initially, but I am liking this side of her a whole lot more. So I'm going to pause it and then I'm going to come back to it. So you'll see my progress. Okay, so I have gone through and worked on the face. I have modified the lips even more. I have worked on both sets of eyes. I have evened up the chin or the jawbone. I've thinned out the neck some. Okay, and I've added almost like a little smirky smile to the edge of the lips. So because before she just looked like she was like mega pouting, and I really didn't want mega pouting. I wanted something a little bit less pouty looking. I've gone through and I've worked on the eyes a tad bit more. I adjusted the eyelid because this one eyelid was considerably higher than this one. It still is a little higher, but it's fine. What else have I done? I've not done the eye. I've primarily just worked on the face. I did notice that my nose is getting fairly fragile because it is drier than everything else. And, I did put my nose holes in there. So I do have to be extra careful around this. And I still have to, once it gets a little bit drier, come through and adjust it even more. But I've gone through, and these are things that I've done. And I'm going to say I've been working on it probably 10 minutes or so. I still have not moved back to the hair part right there, but it is coming along. Okay, like I say to you, time and time again, it is not a one and done. It is a process, and you are literally going over it several times to make it turn into what you want it to become. It will only look as good as you end up taking the time to make it look good. During our individual meetings, you can obviously ask questions. That's a great time to do that. And I'm going to pause it again, and I'm going to continue working. I just wanted to show you my update. Okay, so I've been looking at my face. Oh, son of a gun, I hit it with my nail again. Oh, for the love of everything that is good, cut your nails, people. I have to tell you. It's not much fun when you get the face done and you're like, oh yeah, this looks really good. I'm really pleased with myself. And then you're like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Just go and I smash the face in. Okay, so when you're working on your project, be extra careful, especially if you have nails. If you have nails, you end up smashing things in with your darn nails. It's really not very easy. Okay, so anyway, so I'm looking at my person and I just feel like her nose is just so squashed, and I want more of a nose. So I've decided that I'm going to actually, and I'm at a leather hard stage. I would say I'm not quite too not firm leather hard yet. I'm close. So I want to make sure that I'm going to add some bits here on my nose. And I just decided that I want more of a nose. And I probably should have done this earlier, but as you're working on it, you're like, do I really need to? I do. So I made a little additional chunk that I'm going to add on to my girl's nose here. I'm scoring it because, well, you've got to, if you want to keep something attached, you actually have to score it. So I'm going to add a little water. So I've got just this little additional nose here. So see here, I'm adding this on. It looks a little goofy right now because, well, I have to actually blend it in. That's the great thing about clay. You have to blend in your bits and pieces. So I'm going to just come through here, and it's going to take me just a couple of seconds here. I'm going to actually have to go back in and do a little bit on the, she's a little, yeah, let's straighten that up a little bit. I'm going to have to go back in and redo my nose holes, my nostrils. nostrils, nose holes, whatever they're called, you know, those things. Okay. So, and then I'm going to just come through here. Okay, and I may end up carving a little bit off, but I'd rather have a little bit too much than not enough. Okay, blend this up some, because her nose, her little bits of her nose were just so tiny. And I was just like, I'm just not sure I love that. I like a little bit more of a nose. So if you look here, I've added on a substantial amount of nose. Okay, so, and I'm just gonna tap it. Okay, so now look. Oh, I have a nose. I feel like that's way better. Okay, way better. She's kind of looking up a little bit, which is fine. Okay, so I've got a nose. I've got my lips. I've got my eyes. She's got really big eyes. They're wide set. That's fine. Okay. All right. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm not going to do a whole bunch more of my finishing until I get my back, the back part done. Because every time I work on the front and I'm like, ooh, that looks really good. I think I'm good with that. Then I turn it around and I realize, ooh, I've crushed another part of her face. So that's where we're at. I've added a little bit of the nose on because, well, I just want more nose. And I may end up coming through here and cutting a little bit more right in here. I'm not positive. Anyway, but that's where we're at. I'm going to now flip it over and I'm going to be real careful. I started working on the back of the neck a little bit for the hair as well. I'm going to come through and do lots of little hairs and stuff. So the glaze will seep into those. I'm going to work on my roses now. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to pause it again and okay. All right, so I've gone through and I have carved in my little rosettes for my hair. I've got 2 more to do, and then I'm pretty much done with this. Now, as you see here, as I'm carving, I don't know if you can see. Can you see this? Can you see this? It's coming out, but it's not completely brushing away. So I will have to go back through one more time, and that will be my final video for this portion of this project. But I am coming through and I'm creating all of my rosettes for the hair. I am going to add on 2 birds that I will add on to the top of her head on that last video as well. So I have my face pretty much done. I do need to work on my nose still, and I need to touch up my lips. I'm going to go through once this dries, probably on Monday, go through and film my final video for this process. But as of right now, because it'll be dried enough to where I can easily get rid of all of the little crumbles from all my rosettes and stuff, I'm going to come through and I'm going to do textures through here. But right now it's just a little bit, it's a soft leather hard. The face is firm leather hard, but the hair is still soft. So I will complete all of that on Monday. Well, it doesn't matter to you. In step 7 or 8, which one are we on? Whatever we're on for the next one. I have to actually go on and look. I've been working on this for quite a bit. So I've got that. So you're carving in. You see, this is the second carving in video where I've come in and I've modified and I've changed and I've altered. And so this is where we're at with this. So this is where I'm going to leave you. Okay. So next video will be the final video for this, and then you will be done with your project and you could turn it in and get a whopping A+, you know. I am going to grade you slightly more, a little bit harder, because, well, I want to see more of more modifications, more finishing, and not just a one and done. No one and done, people. It doesn't work in my world, so make sure you do it right. Okay, goodbye.